we got three major candle closes for the day. You got the daily candle close in front of you, showing you it is a doji. That means indecision, higher time frame structure is needed. You got a 3-day candle close in here. That's conveying some information. You got a weekly candle close in here. That's a doji. So if you don't analyze this market right here, right now, it's going to be critically confusing for you for the next 20 to 30 days. Now, let's break all of this down in just 10 minutes. Now, if you go into the market, don't get confused. There's a lot happening. Volume is shifting from one side to another. You need to break the market down logically. And that's why SI Family is here. If you want to jump in, use the link in the description below. If you want to jump in, use the link in the description below and join 1,700 plus members. Now, let's break the market down so that you guys remain in the top 10% of the world. When you look at Bitcoin, on the weekly, it's a doji. We all see that. But what matters is the candle just before that, because this candle in here, it's not conveying much of an information here. It is showing you the fact that indecision is still, something which we don't know. But just before that, there was a shift in momentum. Fine. So we saw that in here. We saw that in here. After that, the doji didn't make a lot of difference. But the initial doji, which did some, you got a retest. So are we going for a retest in here? That's why you have to zoom into it. A 3-day candle right now is arguing some movements in the market are about to start, which is this candle. Yeah, it shows you that you saw a piercing candle in here that played out like this. You literally saw multiple candles playing out like that. This is a bullish engulfing candle. This is a bullish engulfing candle. This is almost exactly what we saw before. Now, that was a local top made. You had a corrective leg down, but you got two piercing candles. Now, why two piercing candles, especially on a 3-day chart? You literally had to make a divergence and then you went up. So here also you do not have a bullish divergence yet on a 3-day, but we started this rally with bullish divergence. So back in the day, if you compare it with that, you didn't get that. So it was cool that you went up with this. All that you have to be careful is for the negative divergence. Now, weekly, the negative divergence is active. You're watching the market to make sure you get a daily and a 3-day and you exit. If a daily comes in, you should be very cautious. Now, where are we? Are we going to get a negative divergence on the daily again? Because you had that in here. We talked about that possibility, saying we may see a B, C, and we instead got the A, B, C, D, E. But on the same region, on the same structure as we plotted. Remember when we were here, I told you, watch, this pattern looks like it's about to play out again. Right here, right now in front of you, the exact same pattern is playing out in depth. So if it's to come back to test that trend line, now it really has a lot of room. Yeah, it does. So in the price action, are we going to repeat that? It is going to be the stunning question everybody is trying to answer. And for that, you need the long-term trend lines. And we know this. That is very close. I mean, that's as close as you can get. And it looks like it's very valid. Last 3-4 years of data points showing you if you come back up, maybe it's 115. Yeah. And that's on a 3-day chart. I agree. When you do go move out onto our weekly, it looks a bit different. It shows you a bit more height, like 120. I agree on that point. But right now, you know the history. These piercing candles showed you a bottom. But that piercing candle was on a weekly, and the current one you got was on a 3-day. You need to understand the differences. Yeah. So now you go to a different candle. Say there was a lot of movement and talk about XRP. So the weekly candle we got the weekly candle close. Think about what we were talking about on the daily chart for XRP. Yeah. When we got this, I was like, okay, we have a bullish divergence coming in here. Combine the RSI with it and you'll understand the argument. The bullish divergence was there. Price came back up. Now what? You had a falling wedge in here that broke to the upside, which is practically bullish on a daily chart. So now you need a retest, yeah, and then a bounce off. So that's the daily chart conveying information. In here on a 3-day, you are literally getting a bullish engulfing candle. We saw something like this before. We saw a piercing candle before. We saw a bullish engulfing candle before. So are we going to repeat this kind of a phase? Yeah. If we are going to do that, that's going to be a great opportunity for a lot of guys who did not exit at the right time. But what are the odds for that? You go on a higher time frame. Weekly is not showing you that amount of bullishness because it failed to pierce the previous candle in here. That's trouble. So weekly is arguing it's still not heavily bullish and the momentum is not favoring it. When you enter on the monthly, that's where it's completely nonsense, meaning a lot of wicks to the upside, a lot of wicks to the downside, a lot of wicks to the upside, and you're still there. And all of those wicks are coming into the market after a run up. So individually, when you take these candles, considering the trend of the market phase doing this, that's a hammer, that's an inverted hammer, that's a hammer. I mean, there's a lot of negativeness coming into the market. Now, to understand the general sentiment, at that point, you will have to rely on the total market. So the total market on a monthly right now, right here, shows monthly has a negative divergence. It's confirmed. There is no argument on it. You go on a weekly, and the weekly is now going back to retest the negative divergence extension. So the first leg of that phase is done. All that you have to care about is, are we doing the 1, 2, 3 signal like the micro here or the macro here? If not, you should be concerned. Why? Then you are most likely doing the ABC. And if you're doing the ABC to the upside, that's not good because the next 1, 2, 3 is to the downside. I don't know how many of us like that to happen, but if the market shows you that's going to happen, decision lies in your hand. You have to take the right decision. Now, pick up a lot of these assets, say Solana or anything else. Even on the highest time frame, like you go on a monthly or a weekly, wherever you want to go, it kind of shows you a clear signal that the momentum shift has been huge. And you came back down here. Now, on that monthly, you also have this happening. Hidden bullish divergence on the monthly. Negative divergence extension on a monthly. So right now, you're like, okay, fine. There's a lot of information happening there. I need to go to a quarterly. This is where it gets even more interesting. It's like, no, watch. This is still holding, but the momentum is shifting. Put it on a line chart and it will be clear to you. You see the lower highs formation? That is where you see, okay, maybe we are playing this out. Now, this is where I say you decide based on the weekly for the assets without that long of a history. If you have last 10, 15 years of history, yeah, you can rely a lot more on the monthly. But if you don't, you will have to stick on to a weekly. Now, monthly can be used as a reference point, but not a decision-making point. Now, 3-day chart for the same asset, if you come into the market, what is it showing you? It is not showing you a bullish engulfing candle. Rather, it's showing you something like this, a slow attempt to reverse. And all of these times, you go back up to a resistance for sure. It can be this as a resistance, or it can be this. So you have multiple trend lines acting as a resistance for a lot of these assets. We do not know as of now whether they are going to break to the upside, but all that we know is that the negative divergence trend line is extending and acting as a strong resistance. So any attempt to go to the upside is going to be met with enormous resistance. Fine. Now pick Ether for that matter. You look at Ether Say you got the weekly close, we'll start from the weekly and slowly go on to the daily. If you notice this, there's one candle which moved to the upside. That's this candle, yeah, the white one. And then this is the third candle, third week of nothingness, honestly, nothingness, yeah? And it's still coming just back down to the candle here, which usually is bullish. So I'm like, whoa, what the hell is Ether about to do? If the short term it's coming back down there and then it's bouncing back up, how high can it go? This is where you slowly zoom in to the 3-day. You got a bullish divergence in here. Until you get a negative divergence, you can relax a little bit. Now you look at the weekly and you're like, no, the weekly already has the negative divergence and it's extending it. So the moment you get the daily, you should be concerned again, meaning it doesn't have to go pop through the skies to give you daily negative divergence again. This is the roof which you have to focus on. And if the price action come back up like this for the RSI, and the price here goes up like this, think about it. That's a negative divergence. So wherever it confirms the next negative divergence, you should be very cautious, watching and putting orders. The moment you get to see the 3-day negative divergence, it should be an exit. So we'll be watching the market. We'll make sure you understand it, and we'll make sure we update you at the right time. But if you want to stay updated at that moment, you have to be in here where we post each and everything so that you understand it. So yesterday we were comparing all of this, like the daily, the 3-day, the weekly for Bitcoin, for Ether, total alt market, so that you are completely updated. And that's exactly why you have 1,700 plus members in the SR family. Use the real data, most important critical information, and make the right decision. I'll meet you guys in the next video. Bye for now.